Have you ever been jolted awake at 2 in the morning by that sound? That deep, rhythmic, gagging, retching sound coming from somewhere in the darkness of your bedroom. You sit up instantly. Your heart is already pounding. You scan the room. And there in the corner, hunched over, back arching up and down like a wave, is your cat. Their whole body is heaving. Their neck is extended forward. Their eyes are watering. And after 6, 7, 8 agonizing heaves, they finally deposit a wet, tubular, glistening mass of matted fur onto your bedroom carpet. They shake themselves off. They look up at you completely unbothered. And then they simply walk away like absolutely nothing happened. But you are left sitting there in the dark, heart still racing, staring at that hairball on the floor. And underneath the relief that it was just a hairball and not something worse, there is a quieter, more persistent worry beginning to grow. Because this is not the first time this week. This is the third. And last week it happened 4 times. And somewhere in the back of your mind you are starting to wonder if this is actually normal. If every cat coughs up this many hairballs this often. If your cat is suffering every single time their body has to go through that violent, exhausting process. And if there is something you are missing. Something simple you could change that would make this happen less. You have tried the hairball paste from the pet store. You brush them more. You switch to a hairball formula dry food. And still, every few days, that sound starts again in the dark. Here is what nobody told you. The answer to your cat's hairball problem is almost certainly not in the supplement aisle. It is not in a special shampoo or a new brush. The answer is sitting on your kitchen floor right now. It is the bowl your cat eats from every single day. And the specific way you are using it is actively making your cat's hairball problem dramatically worse with every single meal. Hello everyone. I am Dr. Rachel Kim, and welcome back to Paw Secrets Lab. I have spent over a decade working with cats in feline specialty practice. And I can tell you that hairballs are one of the most misunderstood conditions in all of companion animal medicine. Most pet owners believe hairballs are simply an unavoidable fact of cat ownership. Something you manage with paste and accept as part of the deal. But what if I told you that the frequency of your cat's hairballs is not random? What if I told you that the way your cat eats, specifically the angle of their head, the speed of their swallowing, and the depth of their food bowl, directly determines how much ingested fur gets trapped in their digestive system versus passed safely through it? And what if the one bowl sitting on your kitchen floor right now is creating the perfect biological conditions for hairballs to form faster, accumulate larger, and be expelled more violently than they ever need to be? Today at Paw Secrets Lab, we are going to solve this together. Here is exactly what we are covering. In Chapter 1, we are going to explore the hairball biology breakdown. You are going to understand exactly what happens inside your cat's digestive system when they swallow fur, why most fur passes safely and some gets trapped, and what physical conditions cause the trapping to happen more often. In Chapter 2, I am going to reveal the bowl position problem. This is the one specific mistake almost every cat owner makes with their feeding setup that dramatically accelerates hairball formation. And correcting it costs absolutely nothing. In Chapter 3, I am going to teach you the 2-part feeding fix. These are 2 precise adjustments to what goes into your cat's bowl and how you serve it that work together to move swallowed fur through the digestive tract before it ever becomes a hairball. And in Chapter 4, I am going to walk you through the warning signs that tell you when your cat's hairball situation has moved beyond a dietary fix and into dangerous medical territory. Subscribe to Paw Secrets Lab right now and join our incredible family of educated, devoted cat parents. Get something to write with. What you are about to learn changes the way you feed your cat forever. Let us begin. Welcome to Chapter 1. The Hairball Biology Breakdown. To fix the problem, we have to understand exactly what creates it. Because hairballs are not random. They are the predictable result of a specific biological chain of events. And once you see the chain clearly, you will immediately understand exactly where to break it. Here is what is actually happening inside your cat every single day. Your cat is a biological grooming machine. The average cat spends between 30 and 50% of their waking hours grooming themselves. Their tongue is covered in tiny, backward-facing hooks called papillae. These hooks are extraordinarily effective at removing loose, dead fur from the coat. But because those hooks face backward toward the throat, every strand of fur that the tongue collects has only one direction it can travel. Down. Into the mouth. Into the esophagus. into the stomach. Now, in a perfectly functioning feline digestive system, most of that ingested fur does exactly what it is supposed to do. It moves through the stomach, through the intestinal tract, and exits the body in the litter box. You would never know it was there. This is normal. This is healthy. This is what your cat's digestive system was designed to handle. But here is where the problem begins. The digestive tract can only move swallowed fur through successfully when two conditions are met. The gut must be moving at an adequate speed, which veterinarians call motility. And the fur must be adequately coated in digestive moisture so it does not clump together and bind. When either of those conditions fails, swallowed fur does not pass through. It accumulates in the stomach instead. It mixes with digestive secretions and mucus. It compacts together into a dense, cylindrical mass. And when that mass becomes too large for the stomach to contain, the body initiates the only removal mechanism available to it. The violent, dramatic, carpet-ruining expulsion you witnessed at 2 in the morning. Now here is the critical question. What causes gut motility to slow down? What causes the fur to dry out and clump together instead of passing through? The answer to both questions connects directly to hydration. Specifically, chronic low-level dehydration. And here is the part that will change everything you thought you knew about your cat's bowl. Cats are descended from desert animals. Unlike dogs, cats have an extremely low thirst drive. In the wild, they obtain the vast majority of their hydration not from standing water but from the moisture content of fresh prey. A mouse is approximately 70% water. When a wild cat consumes prey, they are simultaneously eating and hydrating in a perfectly balanced biological system. A bowl of dry kibble sitting on your kitchen floor is approximately 8 to 10% water. Your cat's body requires that lost 60% of moisture from somewhere. And if your cat is like the vast majority of domestic cats, they are not compensating by drinking enough water from their bowl. They are walking around in a state of mild, chronic, invisible dehydration every single day. Their gut motility is slower than it should be. Their digestive secretions are thicker and less effective. And every strand of fur that goes down is increasingly likely to stay down, accumulate, compact, and come back up the hard way. But the dehydration is only the first layer of the problem. The second layer is something happening at the bowl itself. And it is something you have almost certainly never been told. Welcome to Chapter 2. The Bowl Position Problem. This is the chapter that is going to surprise you the most. Because the mistake I am about to describe is so common, so universal, and so completely unquestioned that virtually every cat owner on the planet is making it right now without having any idea of the damage it is causing. The mistake is this. Your cat's food bowl is flat on the floor. That sounds almost too simple to be significant. But the position of a cat's food bowl during eating determines the angle of their head and neck. And the angle of their head and neck during swallowing determines how effectively their esophagus can move food and ingested fur toward the stomach. And how effectively their esophagus moves material directly determines how much fur accumulates, and in what quantity. Here is the anatomy. When a cat eats from a flat bowl on the floor, they must bend their neck downward at a sharp angle to reach their food. In this downward position, the natural curve of the esophagus is compressed. The muscles of the throat must work against gravity to push swallowed material upward before it can travel down into the stomach. The entire swallowing process becomes mechanically less efficient. But there is a second, equally serious problem created by flat floor bowls. And it has to do with eating speed. When a cat eats from a flat, wide, open bowl, their face can sink deep into the food. There is no restriction. No pause. No natural slowing mechanism. Many cats, particularly those who are food-motivated or living in multi-cat households, will inhale their food at a speed that their digestive system simply cannot manage. When food is consumed faster than the stomach can process it, the entire contents of the stomach, including any accumulated fur, are much more likely to be regurgitated quickly rather than digested slowly and moved through. Fast eating plus a downward neck angle plus chronically dry kibble equals the perfect hairball manufacturing environment. 3 times a day. Every day. Getting worse every single month. So what is the solution? The solution is 2 specific bowl changes that work together. And neither of them requires spending more than $15. Bowl change 1. Elevate the feeding surface. Raise your cat's food bowl to a height of approximately 3 to 4 inches off the ground. You can purchase an elevated cat bowl stand, or you can simply place the existing bowl on a stable, non-slip platform. At this elevated height, your cat's neck remains in a natural, neutral position during eating. The esophagus is no longer compressed. Swallowing becomes dramatically more efficient. Material moves downward toward the stomach with the assistance of gravity rather than fighting against it. Veterinary nutritionists have documented measurable improvements in swallowing efficiency and reduction in regurgitation frequency when elevated feeding is introduced consistently. Bowl change 2. Replace the flat bowl with a wide, shallow dish. This is the specific design detail that almost nobody talks about. Standard cat food bowls are too deep and too narrow. When a cat pushes their face into a deep, narrow bowl, their sensitive facial whiskers are compressed against the sides of the bowl with every single bite. This creates a condition called whisker fatigue or whisker stress. A cat experiencing whisker fatigue will eat more erratically, more quickly, and more anxiously than a cat eating from a comfortable surface. Anxious, fast eating dramatically increases the amount of air swallowed alongside food and fur, which disrupts the stomach environment and slows the motility that your cat desperately needs to move fur through. A wide, shallow dish, ideally a flat plate or a very wide, low-sided bowl, eliminates whisker compression entirely. Your cat can eat calmly, at a natural pace, without physical discomfort at every bite. Calmer eating means slower eating. Slower eating means better digestive processing. Better digestive processing means more fur passing through instead of coming back up. Elevated position. Wide, shallow surface. These two changes alone, implemented tonight, begin working from your cat's very next meal. Welcome to Chapter 3. The two-part feeding fix. Fixing the bowl is the first step. But the bowl is only the delivery system. What goes into that bowl, and how you serve it, is the second critical layer of the solution. Because even a perfectly positioned, perfectly shaped bowl cannot compensate for food that is actively making your cat's hairball problem worse. Here are the two feeding adjustments that work alongside the bowl changes to address the dehydration and motility problem we identified in Chapter 1. Feeding Fix 1. The Moisture Infusion Method. We established that your cat is almost certainly chronically dehydrated. And we established that dehydration slows gut motility, thickens digestive secretions, and creates the perfect conditions for fur to accumulate and compact rather than pass through. So the most direct solution is dramatically increasing the moisture content of every meal your cat eats. Here is exactly how to do it, starting tonight. If your cat is currently eating dry kibble exclusively, begin adding a small amount of warm low-sodium chicken broth, with absolutely no onion, no garlic, and no artificial seasonings, directly to the kibble. Use approximately 2 tablespoons of warm broth per serving. Warm broth is specifically more effective than cold water for 2 reasons. First, the warmth releases the aromatic compounds in the food, making it far more appealing to your cat's sensitive nose. Second, warm liquid is absorbed into the kibble itself, transforming it from a hard, dry piece of compressed starch into a softer, partially hydrated morsel that requires significantly less digestive acid and fluid to process. Every morsel your cat now consumes is carrying moisture directly into their digestive system alongside the food. This begins immediately restoring the gut motility and digestive secretion quality that their system needs to move fur through rather than store it. If your cat will not accept broth on their kibble immediately, do not force it. Begin by placing a teaspoon of warm broth in a separate small dish beside their regular food during meals. Allow them to investigate at their own pace. Most cats transition to accepting broth-moistened kibble within 5 to 7 days of this gradual introduction. The gold standard, if your veterinarian agrees it is appropriate for your cat's specific health profile, is transitioning at least 1 meal per day from dry kibble to a high-quality, high-moisture wet food. Wet food averages 70 to 80% moisture content. Feeding it once daily can single-handedly transform your cat's hydration status over several weeks, with measurable improvements in coat quality, litter box output, and most importantly for our purposes, hairball frequency. Feeding Fix 2. The Digestive Fiber Addition. Moisture addresses the hydration side of the gut motility equation. But there is a second factor that determines whether swallowed fur passes through or accumulates. That factor is dietary fiber. Soluble dietary fiber acts as a biological broom inside the digestive tract. It absorbs water, forms a soft, gel-like substance in the intestines, and physically moves material through the gut more efficiently. For a cat that is swallowing fur during grooming, dietary fiber is essentially the transport mechanism that carries that fur safely from the stomach, through the intestinal tract, and out of the body before it ever has the chance to compact into a hairball. The safest, most effective, most universally tolerated source of soluble fiber for cats is plain, pure canned pumpkin. Not pumpkin pie filling. Not pumpkin spice. Not any product with added sugar or spices. Plain, pure, 100% canned pumpkin puree with a single ingredient on the label. Add 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of plain canned pumpkin to your cat's meal once daily. Mix it thoroughly into their wet food or broth-softened kibble. Most cats accept the mild flavor without resistance when it is properly mixed. The fiber begins working within 24 to 48 hours. Combined with the increased dietary moisture from Fix 1, you are now addressing both critical components of the gut motility deficit simultaneously. More moisture means better flow. More fiber means more efficient transport. Together, they transform your cat's digestive tract from a fur-trapping environment into a fur-moving system. Within 2 to 3 weeks of implementing the bold changes from Chapter 2 alongside these 2 feeding fixes, the vast majority of cat owners report a dramatic and measurable reduction in hairball frequency. Not the complete elimination of all grooming-related fur ingestion, which is biologically impossible, but a fundamental shift from a digestive system that is overwhelmed and expelling fur violently to one that is managing fur quietly and efficiently, exactly as it was designed to do. Welcome to Chapter 4. The warning signs you cannot ignore. Everything I have taught you today is designed for cats whose hairball frequency is a dietary and environmental management issue. But I have an absolute professional responsibility to be completely clear with you. Sometimes what looks like a hairball problem is not a hairball problem at all. And the difference between a dietary fix and a veterinary emergency can be measured in hours. Here are the signs that require you to stop home management immediately and contact your veterinarian today. If your cat is retching and heaving repeatedly but nothing is coming up, this is not a stuck hairball trying harder to come out. This is a potential intestinal blockage. A hairball that has moved from the stomach into the narrow intestinal tract and become lodged is a life-threatening emergency that requires surgical intervention. The longer you wait, the more dangerous and irreversible the outcome becomes. If your cat has stopped eating for more than 24 hours alongside increased retching, the combination of appetite loss and repeated vomiting attempts signals systemic illness that goes far beyond hairball management. This requires blood work, imaging, and immediate professional assessment. If you notice your cat's abdomen appearing distended, swollen, or visibly larger than normal, and they are simultaneously showing signs of discomfort when touched in the belly area, please do not wait for a scheduled appointment. Call your veterinarian immediately or proceed directly to an emergency veterinary clinic. If your cat is producing hairballs that appear unusually large, contain blood, or have a dark, tarry appearance to the material surrounding them, this indicates gastrointestinal bleeding that requires urgent investigation. And finally, if your cat is losing weight consistently over several weeks alongside frequent vomiting, weight loss combined with vomiting is never a hairball issue. It is always a deeper medical signal that must be investigated professionally. Your instinct as a loving cat parent is your most powerful diagnostic tool. If something feels wrong beyond the familiar hairball pattern trust that feeling completely. You know your cat better than any algorithm and better than any YouTube video. When in doubt, call your vet. That phone call is always the right choice. You came here today because you were worried. Because you heard that sound in the dark one too many times, and instead of just accepting it as the inevitable price of sharing your home with a cat, you decided to find out if there was something more you could do. And there is. There always was. Your cat cannot tell you that their whiskers hurt every time they push their face into that deep bowl. They cannot explain that they are thirsty all day long, but their instincts do not compel them to drink the still water sitting 3 feet away. They cannot describe the slow, grinding discomfort of a digestive system trying to process fur without enough moisture or fiber to do the job properly. All they can do is trust you. Trust you to notice. Trust you to care enough to look for answers. And you did exactly that today. A wide, shallow dish raised 3 inches off the floor. 2 tablespoons of warm low-sodium broth mixed into their meal. Half a teaspoon of plain canned pumpkin once a day. These are not complicated interventions. They are not expensive. They do not require a prescription or a specialist or a special trip across the city. They require only what you already have in abundance: the willingness to pay attention to your cat's body, the commitment to make a small change consistently, and the love that brought you here in the first place. That is who you already are. And your cat is extraordinarily lucky to have someone like you paying this level of attention to their quiet, invisible struggles. I want to know about your cat. Tell me in the comments below, how often is your cat currently having hairballs? Once a week? More? And after you make these bold changes and feeding adjustments, please come back and tell me what you notice. Your experience will give genuine hope and practical guidance to every other worried cat owner reading these comments tonight, wondering if it will ever get better. If this masterclass gave you one clear answer, one new piece of hope, one specific thing to try tonight, please tap the like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that feline health education matters deeply and helps us reach the thousands of cat owners who are searching for this exact information right now. Subscribe to Paw Secrets Lab and join our growing family of educated, empowered pet parents who refuse to stop asking better questions for their animals. I am Dr. Rachel Kim. Go check that bowl tonight. Warm up that broth. And give your cat the quiet, comfortable digestion they have always deserved. I will see you in the very next video.